All right. Welcome, everybody, to the 2023 Nationals Town Hall. I'm Dane. I'm part of the Communications Committee. We have a handful of presenters here who are going to be helping us out from the Nationals Committee, Women's Rules, Men's Rules, T&T, and also Unified. We're going to give them an opportunity to talk about certain things that are going to be going over, such as registration, rules changes, things that you should be expecting when you get to Nationals to help you out. I'm going to share my screen now so we can go through the slides here. Just a quick overview of what you're going to be expected to see. Starting off with registration, we're going to talk about the dates that are really important, pricing that's going to be important with some of the early bird and upcoming price changes, registration, and then, like I said, rules. That's going to be looking at women's rules, men's rules, T&T, and Unified. That being said, there is time at the end for questions. If you have something that you would like to know about, please do not unmute yourself to ask during the presentation. Wait until the very end. Or if you would like to, you could always send it in the chat during, and we'll be able to get to that at the end of the presentation.
Sounds good. I guess I'll go ahead and start. So my name is Amanda Reynolds. You'll hear from me a couple different times tonight. I'm the WAG Rules Chair, but I'm going to be talking about some of the generalities of Nationals. So if you weren't aware, our Nationals this year is in Memphis, Tennessee. There's a convention center information. It's being hosted. The competition dates are the 29th of March through April 1st. So that's Thursday through Saturday, and then Wednesday as well. There will be some registration check-in and stuff that you can come to, but the competition days are Thursday through Sunday, or Thursday through Saturday rather. So here's kind of the overview of the schedule, kind of the general gist. So equipment setup happens on Wednesday, and then the first opportunity that clubs will have to come pick up their packets and kind of test out the equipment will be Wednesday evening. Sessions then run all day Thursday and all day Friday. Session assignments will come out the first week of March or so. So the estimated date for that is March 6th. So that's when you'll actually get the session assignment for which session you'll be in. As far as the team packet pickup, it opens Wednesday night, but it will stay open through Thursday and Friday as well, up until the point that we basically have competitors for the last session, and all of the registration packets have been picked up. Like I mentioned, there is also another open workout on Thursday night, and then Friday night we are going to be having a special kind of info session where we're going to have at least one representative from each club come, so all of us, the rules teams, can kind of talk to you guys and give you guys a little bit more information, both about Nationals as well as information going forward in the future about how to get resources and kind of making you guys familiar with all of that. So competition will then wrap up on Friday evening. We will do finals qualification on Friday night. We'll send that out as soon as we're done with it. There will not be Friday awards this year. All awards are going to be Saturday night at the banquet. Then during the day on Saturday, we will have March In, which is a big event where every team gets to march in, regardless of whether you have anyone qualify to finals. It's everyone, and then making sure that we then have finals through the day on Friday, or through the day on Saturday rather. And then Saturday evening, we will have the banquet and reception, which will be where we have awards for all of the levels. Go ahead. Next slide. So as far as Nationals registration, early registration is already open. So if you haven't already checked out the registration website, we'll go through a lot more about that over the course of this meeting. But early registration will close on February 2nd. So that's Thursday night. I believe it's midnight Pacific time. Don't quote me on the time though, but it's Thursday night. And that will be when prices go up. So most prices go up between early and regular registration. We'll have all the prices up on in a second. Regular is then open until February 16th, and then late registration will be March 2nd. And that's after that is when we'll start doing session assignments and everything to have you guys all of that information by early March. Next slide. So as I mentioned, there are different costs with nationals, and a lot of them have different prices for early, standard, and late registration. Here is the pricing structure for everything. If you go ahead and click, Dane. The individual first discipline is something that all athletes need to purchase. So every athlete will pay at least $95 to be part of nationals. The pricing structure is different than a lot of club meets are. The individual first discipline, so say you're a WAG athlete and you're only competing WAG, you will pay for early registration $95. If you wanted to add a second discipline, so for example, say you want to compete MAG and WAG, you would pay that first discipline and then add on the second discipline fee, which is the next box over. So for standard, we'll say first discipline, it would be $125 for MAG and WAG. And then if you wanted to add on T&T as well, it would be another $15 on top of that. So we kind of revamped this pricing structure to make it easier to add additional disciplines for everyone involved. And then go ahead and click one more time. As far as the team payment, that is only required if you want to be eligible for a team score or team awards. So that basically means that you have at least 3 people competing each event in a particular level, because the 3 scores count per event. So if maybe you only have 2 or 3 athletes, but they're not all competing all around, then you probably wouldn't want to register for a team score. But if you have, say, like a full team of 8 where everyone's competing all around, that would probably be in your best interest if you're interested. That is not a requirement, but it does make you eligible to be able to get a team score and therefore qualify either to team finals if you're in a level that has finals, or get a team award for either levels that have finals or that don't. And then we also have the pricing structure for banquet. Banquet, again, is not required, but it is something that most people participate in because that is where our awards will be. But yeah, one thing with the team score, if you think that there's any possibility that you would make finals, it would be recommended that you do a team score, because something we have had in the past is that teams may not pay the team score because they didn't realize that they had a qualifying team, or they didn't think they would do well enough, and they would have qualified for finals, but because they didn't pay that fee, they therefore weren't eligible to make finals or get that award. Go ahead, next slide. So I'll just leave this up here for a minute. A lot of this information is what I just talked about on the last slide, but some of the other information that was not on that other slide is, in addition to those nationals registration fees, every athlete has to pay the $35 NAIGC membership. That allows you to participate in sanctioned events. So that includes any club meet that might be sanctioned, regionals, nationals. That would go for coaches as well. They have a $20 membership that gets them floor access specifically for nationals, but as well as for other sanctioned events as well. And then each club has to pay $75 per year. And that basically goes to helping us maintain the organization as a whole and making sure that you guys are eligible to vote in the annual elections each year. And then all of the bottom stuff is what we just talked about with the registration before, but it's kind of in a written format as well. Next slide. So as far as the refund protocol for nationals, registration fees are refundable. So all of the fees except the banquet tickets that we talked about on the first slide are refundable and will be processed on the 1st of each month, except for after nationals. We'll do that about a week after nationals or so. If you want to request a refund, please email nationals@naigc.org with all of the information listed on there. And then we will make an effort to get that refunded to you guys. If it's within a week of nationals, you'll just need to include the reason for requesting the refund. So we basically make sure that it's a valid refund. But before that, all of the registration fees are refundable, but none of the membership fees. So that $35 for athletes or the $20 for coaches, that is all non-refundable. Next slide. So as far as registration for nationals, we'll go through this at the end as well if people have questions, but generally the way you'll do this is you will go onto our registration website, which is registration.naigc.org. You will add competitors and coaches from the team management page. You can also pay the memberships on there as well. Registration.naigc.org. I'm not sure what I said, but registration.naigc.org. If you want to add athletes to the teams or events, that'll be on the meet registration page. That will also be for where you'll add coaches as well. That's also where you'll check whether or not a specific team will have the eligibility for a team score. If you have it X'd out, you will not be paying that team fee. If you have it a green check mark, that means that you will be paying that team fee. On there, you'll also be able to input session requests. You'll be able to say, I want to compete Thursday, I want to compete Friday, I can only compete in session 6. All of that is where you'll put your session requests. If you don't put your session requests in that meet registration table, we may not see it and we may not be able to honor your session request. So that's very important because we want to make sure that you guys put that in, and that is something that is required for this year. So put whatever information in there that you can so that we can facilitate you guys as best. At the bottom, it will give you a summary table as far as based on your registration, what payments need to be added to the cart. So you can add, it'll say if you have 8 athletes registered, 8 individual first discipline registration, can add that to your cart. And then that's where you can pay for everything. And one thing with registration and the fees, it is based on what the timing, so early, standard, or late, is based on when you pay, not when you put the information on the website. So even if you've put things on the website now, if you don't pay until 3 weeks from now, that would fall under standard registration versus the early registration price. So that's something very important that we want to make sure you guys are aware of as well. As far as the waiver, you'll be able to have your athletes and coaches go into their profile page. From there, they'll be able to sign the waiver and they'll be able to put in their gender, birthday, and t-shirt size. If they can put that in as soon as possible, even if for some reason you guys aren't sure about registration and you haven't put that in, the earlier we get the gender, birthday, t-shirt size, the better our registration numbers and the more accurate our information will be when it comes to nationals. So that's very, very helpful. The earlier you can put that in, the better. Next slide. So I just wanted to put some links in here for future reference. We have several websites that are meant to help you guys and make sure that you guys have access to all of the information. So naigc.org, nationals-2023, nationals-tips, and nationals-2023-rules. All of those web pages have lots of helpful information. We try and aggregate all of the questions that we get asked on the various email addresses and make sure that it's easily available to you. So if you have questions, check those links out. The answer is probably there somewhere. Next slide. Okay, so with that, we're going to transition to WAG. So I will actually continue talking, but we can go ahead and go to the next slide. One quick resource I wanted to make you guys aware of, the rules teams here have done a really good job. We've tried really hard to make sure that we have really up-to-date and really helpful information on some of our social media pages. So if you follow NAIGC _rules info, on Instagram, and then our NAIGC rules info page on Facebook. The content there is the same, but it is a place where we post really helpful content for both MAG, WAG, and T&T. If you ever have questions, we're really responsive over there. So wanted to make you guys all aware of that before we jump into the rest of the rules content. Go ahead. So as far as rules, we have our women's rules page. It is naigc.org/women's-rules. This is kind of what it looks like. You can see we have our rules document in the big, bold, orange text, as well as the code of points addition. So any named skills that we have added to our NAIGC code of points can be found there. We also have a lot of drop downs that has quite a bit of information as well. There's a QR code on the bottom right as well if you wanted to scan that and go visit the website. But this is also a really helpful page if you have any questions about the rules, etc. Next. So for this year, we're going to be offering 4 levels, which is a change from last year. So we're going to be offering Excel Silver, Excel Platinum, Level 8, and Level 9. So Excel Silver will be replacing Developmental, and then Excel Platinum will replace Level 6 and 7. This was something that we announced early this fall, and if you have any questions or would like more information on why we made these changes, you can see that link as well. We have a helpful kind of Q&A guide about why we made those changes and what we think these levels will facilitate the organization for in the future. Go ahead. So if you've been to nationals before, well, I guess probably not many of you have been into nationals prior to 2022, but it will kind of be reverting back to the way we had things prior to the pandemic. So we will be having competition in 6 sessions over the course of Thursday and Friday. Judging panels will be 2 judges each. So we had 1 judge last year. We'll have 2 judge panels this year. As far as finals, Excel Platinum, Level 8, and Level 9 will have finals. Excel Silver will not. As far as team scores, you can put up to 8 routines per event, and 3 scores will count in prelims. It's 4 up, 3 count in finals. If you want to create, if you have more than 8 athletes competing a specific event, you can always create a second team. It just likely would be that you're only eligible to have 1 team that could ultimately make finals or win an award. So you'll probably have like an A team and a B team, but it's 8 routines per event, even if that means you have more than 8 athletes on that team. As far as rotation assignments for prelims, they're randomly assigned based on just how we can fit different groups together. For finals, it'll be based on prelim placement. So highest scoring teams in prelims will then get the premier order for finals. So finals qualification will be based on level and awards category. So both collegiate and community will have a certain number of people qualify. The hope is to keep it roughly proportional to registration with a minimum of 6 individual qualifiers per category. And then when it comes to awards, for each finals category will be roughly the number of participants divided by 2, with a minimum of 3 awards per category. So we'll be going out at least 3 places for all the divisions. There is a cap. I forget what the exact cap number is for awards that's specific to level 8, but we'll have all of those numbers are on the website, and we can show you where those numbers are at the end. Next slide. So there's a lot of information on this slide. I'm not going to read it, but it's something that you can either screenshot or when we post the recording, go back and look at. This is kind of the big changes and the big differences between Excel Silver and Excel Platinum versus the old level developmental 6 and 7. So for the most part, the levels are pretty similar. There are some small changes, especially Vault for development or Vault for Excel Silver compared to developmental, and some of the special requirements for Excel Platinum, but for the most part, the general level structure is roughly the same. We have made some small modifications for both levels to make it closer to what we had for 6, 7, and developmental. All of those are generally listed out on here, but if you ever have questions, NAIGC_rules info, we have a lot of content there. We also are really receptive if you ever have questions. So as far as levels, have finals, everything except silver. So platinum 8, 9. Next slide. As far as changes for level 8 and 9, for the most part, they stayed the same, except the only thing that we changed is that we'll be removing the up to level composition deductions for both 8 and 9. So that accounts for about a 0.5 point in possible deductions on beam and floor and a 1/10 on uneven bars. And if you ever have questions about what deductions may or may not be taken, we have information on the website under the resources from USAG tab. If you drop down, and then the level 8 or level 9, depending on the level you're looking at, cheat sheet has the specific deductions highlighted. Next slide. And now I will give it over to, is it Nate? Okay. Nate, you are a chipmunk. Nope.
How about now?
Yes, that's good.
That chipmunk filter I had on for work. All right. My name is Nate. I'm not a chipmunk. I'm going to be telling you about MAG rules. So similar to the WAG side of things, we've got a very helpful website with lots of materials on it. If you ever are browsing this page and find something that's missing or an error, feel free to send us an email or Instagram DM through the same account that Amanda had mentioned earlier, or rules@naigc.org. So this is the one-stop shop for all the things having to do with our rules, naigc.org/men's rules, or navigate there from the homepage, and the QR code in the lower right can take you there right now. Next slide. So our level offerings are pretty much the same as last year with a name change. So level 7, level 9, modified NCAA, kind of a low, medium, and high levels. Level 7 is exactly the same as developmental. We just changed the name to follow USAG's changing of the reference level that we were basing that off of. We have 2 awards categories, collegiate, community, and if there are 25 or more females participating in MAG on any single event in a level, then we may create a separate awards category for them as well. Next page. Competition overview. Structure will remain the same as it was in 2019 and 2022. All the competitive sessions will be a warm-up compete format. So you warm up an event, then you compete that event rather than a warm up everything and then compete everything. You get 12 minutes per event and then as many bump touches in between routines as long as you're not slowing things down. And we'll have 2 judges stuck on each event. Unlike last year where we were a little constrained on having 6 judges for the 6 events and keeping 2 judge panels where they were rotating. This year, we've got 12 judges total, 2 per event for the entirety of the meet. Prelims, all the levels may be combined in a given prelim session. So don't worry about having to split your team up across multiple sessions because you're competing in a couple different levels. Everything is being competed all at once. And each team can have up to 8 individuals on a given event with 3 scores counting. For finals, qualification is based on level and placement category. And we adjust these blue numbers in the document that you can find on our website after registration is closed to match to make sure that we're letting in a similar number of people as there are in each of the levels. Guaranteed finals for NCAA. We're generally offering it for modified level 9, but leaving the door open in case there's much lower registration than we expect. So if there are fewer than 50 athletes for any given event, then finals may not be offered for that. Each team may have up to 4 individuals compete in finals with 3 counting. So 4 up, 3 count. Lineups have to be handed in an hour and a half before the start of the competition. Rotation assignments are automatically determined based on prelim placements, so there's no requests there. And once the first competitor signals the head judge, then there's no more substitutions in terms of who's on that 4 up, 3 count team for each event. And then for awards, the number in each category will be the number of participants divided by 2, rounded up, with a minimum of 3 for individuals and 1 for teams. I compete MAG level 7, there is not finals, but there will still be awards, correct? Yes. So there's a question in the chat of if I compete MAG level 7, there's not finals, but there'll still be awards at the banquet, and that is correct. So changes from last year, the name change of developmental to level 7, again, not a functional change, just the name of it. Again, another naming thing, awards category to placement category, the minimum finals qualification set to 3 for individuals and 2 for teams to make sure that there's some amount of competition in finals and you're not kind of guaranteed a medal just by making it. And if you're interested in giving feedback, we do a survey after nationals every year. And if you want to see what the feedback was last year and our response to it and how we've reacted to that, you can go to the website and there's a link from that MAG rules page. Next. All right, back to you, Amanda, for T&T.
Yep, so go ahead, next slide. So again, the T&T page is structured very similarly. We also have drop downs below the screenshot as well. If you are not familiar with T&T, it's something we added somewhat at 2019 Nationals, and then we were finally able to put it in fully at 2022 Nationals. T&T consists of individual trampoline, double mini, power tumbling, and synchronized trampoline. And then we've created 3 levels within each of those, new flyers, intermediate flyers, and high flyers, depending on the skill level that you have within T&T. If you ever, we have a lot of resources to kind of help you find where you fit if you are interested in competing T&T. But if you have questions or would like help creating routines or figuring out where you fit, again, DMing us on Instagram or the Facebook page, the rules Facebook, is probably the easiest way to get in touch with us. Also, as it says at the bottom, emailing rules@naigc.org also goes to us as well. Next slide. So kind of as I mentioned, we have 3 different levels: new flyers, which is basically for those that may not have much, if any, gymnastics experience or generally are lower level in artistic. Intermediate flyers tends to be people that are higher level in artistic but have no background in T&T, or people that have kind of worked their way up through the T&T world. And then high flyers tends to be people that are pretty experienced in the T&T world, or have worked really hard at kind of adapting their artistic skills into the T&T. As far as awards categories, we have male and female categories. Synchro awards are ungendered because we have mixed gender pair of like eligibility. So you can be paired with anyone for a synchro pair. If we have anyone registered as non-binary or prefer not to answer as far as gender, feel free to reach out to us if you don't feel like you fit in either of those categories, and we'll kind of figure out where you feel like you belong within T&T. Next slide. So as far as T&T competition, we plan to have prelim sessions on both Thursday and Friday, but T&T will not have any finals. Depending on exact numbers for registration, we're expecting to offer 3 or 4 sessions, and each session will offer all 4 events. We'll kind of keep things transparent as far as what sessions we're kind of thinking and planning of based on registration numbers, but tentatively the plan is to do session 3, 4, 5, and maybe 6 as of right now, but that could change. If we have a ton of T&T registration, we may need to add additional sessions, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. If you are an athlete participating in T&T, you can compete any event at any level. So you don't have to stick to a specific level across all events. You can if you want, but you don't have to. So for example, if you're really good at tumbling, but really don't like trampolines, you could compete high flyers tumbling and intermediate flyer trampoline and new flyer double mini or any other combination, or you could only compete, say, one event. It's entirely up to you, and each individual event in the registration page has its own separate drop down for the level. So if you have any questions with that, again, reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to help. And so because of that, you could end up in different awards categories based on the level that you're competing. So if you compete high flyer tumbling, that's the level that you're eligible for in awards. New flyer double mini, that's the level you're eligible for in awards, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, one other thing that I didn't put on this slide for synchro tramp, you can also compete with a person that didn't do the same synchro or the same like trampoline level as you. So for example, you have 2 athletes, one that competed high flyers and one that competed intermediate flyers. You guys could compete either high flyer synchro or intermediate flyer synchro. It just has to match the level of one of the athletes. So you don't have to compete the same level individual to be able to compete together for synchro. And if you would like a synchro partner, but you don't have anyone in mind, again, reach out and we'll try and help match as well. Next slide. Oh, it's not me anymore.
Nope, it's my turn. All right, I'm going to go over UAG rules. And for those of you guys who aren't familiar with UAG, it's Unified Artistic Gymnastics, and that's basically the combination of competing events that are traditionally under MAG or WAG. So it could just be like one in each, but just doing something in both. Next slide. So we also have a webpage that looks pretty much like everyone else's. This year, we actually created a UAG rules policy. Pretty much all the information that's in the policy is on the website as well, because it's pretty simple. Just kind of says that we follow the rules for MAG and WAG. And then we also have the Nationals Championship format, which helps explain the rules of like how we deal with gender and decathlon, how the scoring works for that, and levels and such. Next slide. So UAG basically uses the same levels as MAG and WAG. You don't need to do anything different for your registration. You just, if you're signing up for MAG events, you just pick your level, sign up. Signing up for WAG events, pick your level, sign up for those events. You don't have to do anything special. And then for decathlon, in the past, we had like set levels for decathlon, especially since we have some new WAG levels this year. And we want people to have the freedom to pick whatever level suits them best. We're just going to base the number of awards on how many people register. So if there's at least 6 people registered for a level combination, then we'll give the top 3 awards. But if there's fewer than that, then we'll just give the top 1 award. And there aren't any placement categories for decathlon. So no matter what you select for your gender, it's the same. I also forgot to say on the last slide that we added another option for gender this year, which is prefer not to answer. So if anyone is uncomfortable sharing their gender, you can select that, and that will be treated the same as non-binary, which is basically anyone who chooses non-binary has no restrictions on placement category. Next slide. All right, so just like last year, you don't have to choose a primary discipline for UAG. You're eligible for finals in any event that you compete in, but we do have some restrictions based on gender. So no athlete can qualify for vault finals or win a medal in the gender opposite their registered discipline. Or yeah, and on floor, male athletes competing in WAG cannot displace female athletes from finals or awards. So they'd still win an award or qualify to finals, but we would just add more people onto the list. And there is a possibility that we would add a new awards category for women in MAG or men in WAG, if there's enough people that are registered. So you can qualify for finals in up to 10 events. That's a possibility. And if that happens, if you're like expected to be competing in an event and you're not there, then you would just get a 0. So it's the responsibility of the athlete and hopefully your teammates and friends to help you get back and forth. I can confirm that it is possible to compete all 10 events in finals. Yeah, so decathlon score, all around score is 5 times your WAG all around plus your MAG all around. So anyone who competes all 10 events is automatically registered for decathlon. I know it seems like we're unfairly weighting the WAG all around, but we did do a lot of work like looking at scores for athletes at different levels and how their all arounds would place compared to other people who are at the same level with the same number of years of experience, et cetera. So there was a lot that went into that formula. But if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to rules@naigc.org. Next slide. So yeah, I already went over the update to the gender policy, and then like I said, we've updated the levels so that all decathlon levels are available this year.
And just to clarify, prefer not to answer is an actual choice. It is not just don't fill in your gender. We do need that information. Even if the answer is prefer not to answer, you have to choose that as an answer.
Yes, and there is currently a bug right now where in your like summary page, when you say prefer not to answer, it will like say it's incomplete, but we will fix that and it will show up as prefer not to answer soon. Next slide. I don't know who's covering this.
I can. So one of the things that has come up quite a bit over the last few months is if you're looking to register for meets and no one that is currently active in your club has admin access, first reach out to anyone that may already have access. So if you have access to maybe someone that had it last year, or if you just need to add more people this year, anyone that already has access can make you an admin. There's a link on the slide, and when we post this, we'll post a read-only version of these slides as well. And then if you don't have an access to anyone, if you email info@naigc.org with your contact information and the club that you need access to, then we will be able to give you access and information on how to go forward with that. And then this club information or this club access will reset at the end of each season. I think it's like in the fall. So make sure that you guys are updating admin privileges for people that are going to be in charge next year so that they don't have to go through this same process next year. Because once you add someone for next year, they will maintain that access. Next slide is just a question slide. So if you have any questions, now is your time to either we'll be able to unmute you or feel free to pop things up in the chat and we will do our best to answer them. Max.
Hey, okay, so quick question. With the early registration for nationals ending this week, I have a couple athletes that are still trying to figure out what events they are gonna be ready to compete by nationals time. One of them is UAG things. I have a couple girls who are not sure if they are going to try and compete some men's events, but also just in general, is it easier to just put everything that they might want to do and then scratch later, or what is the best way to go about that?
So as far as putting events in, we don't necessarily need events now by early registration deadlines. We just basically need to know how many athletes you plan on bringing. We don't need the event information until we're doing session planning. So by the end of registration as a whole, we just need to know how many athletes you're bringing and have that payment in. As far as the UAG athletes, having them register for at least the discipline that they know they are planning on competing for early registration, because the price for the UAG edition does not go up until between standard and late registration. So basically put in everything that you know for sure now in terms of registration. If you have events, great. You can change events up until the day of nationals. But as long as we know how many athletes you're bringing that and have that payment, that's what we need by that early registration deadline.
Yeah, but it's definitely easiest to be registered and scratch, because you don't want to like compete an event and have the person be like, I can't enter your score because you weren't registered for the event. So definitely register for more, and it's easy to enter a 0.
And yes, this was a question in the chat, but I'll go ahead and just say it out loud. Everyone, regardless of team or whatever, can participate in marching. Any individual athletes will end up under the either independent community banner or independent collegiate athlete banner if they don't have a team otherwise. Nicole.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I had a question about Excel Silver Vault. I know that now it has transitioned to over a Resi, but I was wondering if Silvers could have the option to vault over a table, because I know when they were developmental, some of our girls went over the table, and it's been kind of a difficult adjustment to go down to a Resi.
Yeah, so no, we are not having the ability to do over a table. However, you are able to add, I think it's quite a significant number of mats on top. So you are able to add 8 inches on top to make it closer to a vault height, if that's something you're interested in. But no, vaulting over the table is not an option for Excel Silver.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Max again, or is your hand just still up?
Yeah, no, sorry, I did forget. Just to be clear, me personally, I'm going to be doing men's floor, women's floor, and T&T. So that would be like the $95 charge plus 2 $15
Correct.
charges.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
And Max, just for those women on your team thinking about doing MAG routines, I hope they're aware of we have a specific WAG to MAG transition or addition guide on the website with tips and tricks and things that you might think are true based on understanding of WAG rules that are not, and vice versa, on the NAIGC website. So as well as example beginner routines. So for our team, we found those very valuable. And if they're not aware of those resources, if you could point them towards that, that'd be great.
There's also a MAG to WAG transition guide.
Yep.
On the WAG page.
Anyone else have questions?
Nicole, did you have another question, or is your hand just still up?
I did actually have one more. I remember last year we signed up for helping with sessions or breakdown. Is there going to be a Google form for that again?
Yeah, I just put the link in the chat. You can also find it in our link tree on Instagram.
Okay, thank you.
Dane, if you can go ahead and click again. So again, I did want to put these just at the end. If you have any questions, we have 2 email addresses, info@naigc.org. If you have any like general NAIGC questions, if there's anything that is specifically pertaining to nationals at naigc.org is probably your best bet, just so that it's going to the right people, so that we can make sure to facilitate your questions as quickly as possible, especially as we get closer to some of the registration deadlines. If you're emailing nationals out, you'll probably get a faster response. there are not any other questions, go ahead and click one more time. We can go through the registration website if people have questions. If you are already good with the registration website and like understand the registration website, feel free to head out. We very much appreciate you taking your time to be here. And again, this will be posted online as well. But just in case people had questions about the registration website, I'm gonna Lizzie before we get too far. Any question?
Yeah, so I'm glad that you're going to go through the registration website. I guess I'm confused because I'm like the team admin for Seattle Seals. So if I wanted to register like a platinum team, would I have to pay everyone's individual and team fee up front when I go to register them for nationals? I just don't fully understand that.
Yes. The short answer is yes.
If you want to be eligible for a team score.
Correct.
And I need to know upfront who all I would be registering for that.
No,
then.
so they're not, the registration fees are not connected to an athlete. So you could purchase a particular number of individual registrations, and if you need to get a refund because you purchased too many, then you could do that. But it's not like connected to a specific person, unlike the memberships, which are connected to a person.
But then there's an individual and a team fee. So would the individual fees be just like if I put in like there's like 3 of us or 4 of us, then I would multiply that by the individual fee as well as the team fee as a
Yes.
whole?
Yes.
And you'll see that
Oh,
there's now a table at the bottom that says exactly what you need to pay for based on what you've registered.
I see.
But it won't be correct for the team fees unless you check that you want a team score in the teams table. And we can go through all of that. in a
Okay,
screen
and
share.
so if I think that we have like 4 or 5 and then it ends up being 3, then we could just get refunded on 2?
Correct.
Great.
Amaya?
Hi. So if we have people competing at different levels on our same team, will we be competing in different gyms in the same session, or will we be split up 2 sessions?
So the way we have it planned for WAG is that if they are competing in a different gym, they will be split across different sessions. So you won't have athletes in different gyms at the same time. As of right now, we are expecting that there will definitely be a level 8 only gym. And then the other 3 levels, it will either be Excel Platinum and Excel Silver grouped together, and then a level 9 gym, or level 9 and Silver grouped together with a Platinum gym. So if you were to have athletes in all 4 WAG levels, they would likely be split across 3 sessions just so that you can like support each other and all of that, unless you specifically request otherwise. So say you want all your athletes to compete in the same session, even if they're in different gyms, you can put that in the session requests. But otherwise, we'll generally, if they're in different gyms, we'll put them in different sessions. And that applies to MAG and T&T as well.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Amanda?
So I'm just wondering if we have people in different sessions and say we only have, say, one person competing in a level, can we have a different teammate come help them set up their equipment, or do we have to pay like
Yes.
a coach's fee to have
No,
them do that? Or
athletes are always eligible to be on the floor when their team is competing. So like if you, like you said, you had one athlete, anyone else from their team that has an athlete membership is eligible to be on the floor and help them. Obviously, we'd like you to be respectful as far as like space, but in terms of like a single athlete having like 1 or 2 people help them, that's not a big deal. If you have coaches that want to be on the floor, then they would need that coach's membership fee. But otherwise, athletes are allowed on the floor.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And
No
then
problem.
I know you're just about to go over the registration, but I'm also on the Seattle Seals. So what Lizzie was talking about, I just logged in, so I shouldn't pay my fee myself. Like the team should pay for the individual.
So that is up to you guys to decide, but like, so for teams, they will aggregate. So any payments for the team will aggregate together. So
Got it, okay.
So it is possible that, especially in like an adult
The community,
team,
yeah.
and yeah, a community team like that, it may make more sense for you guys to each pay your individual fee individually versus
Okay.
like paying the team and then having the team pay that fee. But that's up to you guys to decide. It will all aggregate together at the end.
Okay,
So
I
it
just
won't-
wanted,
Oh, sorry, Amanda.
Go ahead, you're
So
fine.
it wouldn't take Amanda out of the running if she pays in her
Correct.
individual fee and I register a team of 3. But then when I go to register a team of 3, would it prompt me to pay for each individual as well as a team fee?
So I
It's
believe
not that smart.
Yeah.
There's no prompting. It's just like a table
Okay.
that says what you owe and then you pay that. So, and it'll like calculate like how many you're supposed to pay, how many you have paid, and how many are left. But you have to do the like adding to your cart of individual things, and it doesn't matter who adds it to their cart. There'll be like a table at the bottom that says like this person paid for, or maybe that's only in the admin view, I think. We'll see. But yeah,
This is confusing. Yeah.
well, we can walk you through it and that'll definitely help.
Yeah, Julia,
Okay.
do you want to screen share or do you want me to try and screen share?
Sure, I can screen share.
Because I feel like you're probably the best person to try and do this.
Okay, yeah, I do have a kid who's having a night terror right now, but I think Nate's got it covered. So, but if someone comes like screaming through, everything's okay.
Oh, there we go.
All right, can you guys see that all right? So basically I'll start with the team management page. So you won't be able to see this unless you have team admin rights, but this is where you can add members to your team. So if someone's new this year, then you can like enter all their information and click add new person to database. If they're not new, then they should show up in the list of people, and you can like add them to your team. If they have an account, but they're not, but they haven't been on your team before, they actually have to go into their own profile. And in your profile, you can add an affiliation. So like if I'd never been affiliated with NAIGC alumni before, then I could add that affiliation in here, then you would show up in the team list. So that's something that like an individual can do to be added to a team. So basically in this table, there's like a lot of things that you can do. So you can add people's gender, you can input their phone numbers, it's like it's all editable, you can give them admin privileges. And if I could get to the bottom here, I can scroll to the side. So you can also put in student status in this table. So it's a lot easier to do here than to have like each individual member enter their student status. And this is also where you can purchase memberships. So you can click either coach membership or gymnast membership. And like if I click that, it's going to show up in my cart with the gymnast membership. So the cart's up in the upper right. Individuals can also buy their membership from their profile page, but like as a team admin, the easiest place to do it is here. So once someone's on this list, then you can go into the team meet registration, and I'll do nationals specifically. So anyone you want to register once it loads, you start typing their name. Like I want to register this person for the meet and they're going to do level 9 and they're going to do all around. You click register that person and they'll show up in the table. We have a lot of people registered. So show up in that table and you can click these check marks and X's and change things as much as you want. You can also in this table select a different level if you want to move someone between teams, or you can click in the box and pick a different letter if you want to move them between teams. So that's how you add the people. And you can see that like some people are registered for like multiple times and their name will just show up twice there. And then next you have this list of all the teams. So this is where you can select if you have a team score for something. So we only have 3 teams that have enough members for a team score. So we click the checkbox, but you can easily select and unselect that. I don't think this shows up for non-admin, so you can ignore that. And then this is where you enter your session requests. So preferred day, you can pick whether you'd rather be on Thursday or rather be on Friday. And if there's a day that you absolutely can't be there, like you're not arriving until Thursday night, and so you have to be on Friday, you can pick that. And we also have an option for like, you can only be there for the last session. And then if you have any like specific requests, it's easier if you just pick these things. But if there's something particular, like you do want all your teams to be in the same session because you want to go to Graceland or something like that, then you can put that information in the notes. That's not required, but every other piece here needs to be filled in. So then we have the summary table of everyone there. So the t-shirt size is something that people have to enter in their profile. So if you go to my profile, edit profile, there's a place to enter your t-shirt size. And so this lets you know, like, if you're missing this information, like I said, the gender, yeah, whatever. So then you can see who's signed the waiver on your team. You can select who's going to the banquet. So if someone, for some reason, doesn't want to attend the banquet or can't attend the banquet, you can leave it an X as an X, but if they want to attend the banquet, you make it a check mark. These boxes are not check markable. And then we have a summary of how many added disciplines you have. So I don't know why that has a -1. Anyway, you can also see if people have paid their memberships. So if anyone has 0, then they haven't paid the membership. So your registration isn't complete until all these are filled in. And then this is the table I was talking about at the bottom where it gives you the total. So it says how many we have. So we have 19 people that are registered to compete a first discipline, and we've paid 2 of them. So we know how many are left. So if we wanted to pay for those additional 17 first disciplines, we go to the payment one, select first discipline, put 17 in the cart, and you click add to cart. And then that's going to show up there as 17 first disciplines. So yeah, I don't know if this shows up for admins or not, but you can see like a list of who has paid for things and how much they paid for in there. That was a lot. Annika.
Yeah, hi, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so a question not regards to registration, but will nationals like be broadcasted anywhere if our family like wants to watch, or like via, I don't know, I know some meets where I coached at, they like would have it broadcasted, so I was just wondering.
We don't currently have a plan to broadcast it. I know that someone has reached out saying they have a friend who's interested in setting that up. So we are looking into it, and it's definitely something we want to do in the future. But it is like 5 gyms going at once. So it's a lot of equipment and stuff that we need to get set up that we just don't have the resources for right now. But
so
we
to be determined, but probably not.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then my other question is like, will my meet scores be used to like update scores or something?
No, so we're actually using a new scoring system this year. So I don't know the details of how to find, it's called Score Flippers. I don't know the details of how you find your scores on there.
There will be a live scores link though.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It will be like my meet scores, but it's a different system.
Okay, thank you so much. That's all.
Yep. Are there any other questions either about registration or anything else, Krista?
Hi, I have some family coming, and I'm wondering if the banquet is going to be family friendly and kid friendly.
It's definitely open to families and to children. I brought my infants there 7 years ago, so it's definitely doable. You just have to be aware that like there are a lot of college students there, and they're not necessarily behaving the way you would necessarily want around children. So we don't really have control over that. So that's just something to be aware of, that there will. Yeah,
I would say that generally like the food eating portion and the awards are definitely almost always family friendly and pretty laid back, and everybody's focused on eating and listening. But then it transitions into dance and music, and pretty quickly goes less family friendly after that. So
but that doesn't happen until like 10 p.m.
Right.
And it is just like in general, the whole banquet is fairly late. So if the children are young, it can be kind of challenging.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Anyone else before we call it a night? And even if you don't have questions or don't feel comfortable asking here, any of the email addresses that we put out are generally pretty monitored, and we at the very least can get your questions to the right people if whatever email address is not the correct one. But we're generally pretty happy to answer questions, etc.
Can I real quickly share the
Yes.
Nationals rules page?
Yeah.
So under Nationals, if you go to competition rules, so this first tab just basically goes through like what are the like things that determine your score. This next tab has the Nationals format, so that's about like how does finals qualification work, how much time do you get to warm up each event, etc. And then this is where it gets fun. So for finals qualification and awards numbers, we have these tables, and it basically goes over for every single level whether finals is offered, and then how many people qualify for finals and how many awards we'll be giving for teams all around and events. And then these numbers in blue are, like Amanda said, are based on registration. So they can change up to the Sunday before nationals, but we're ordering medals in like a week. So they're going to be very close to these numbers if they do change a little bit. So we have that for each of the disciplines. So that's a really useful place to go if you want to know like how many people qualify to finals, etc. And then we also have this collegiate versus community tab where you can go and look at these flowcharts and determine what division or what placement category you would be competing in. So you basically like choose, okay, I'm going to do level 8. My registered gender is female, and I'm not a student, so I would be in level 8 community. So you can follow that, and like we have that for teams as well. And then another thing we have is these examples. So it basically just kind of runs through like, okay, if this is the scores that people have, and these people are collegiate, and these people are community, who qualifies to finals, etc. So if you really want to get in the nitty gritty, that stuff is all there.
One other thing on that collegiate community team idea. So collegiate teams, just for quick definition so that it's kind of clear. Collegiate teams are consist of college students from a single university. So let's say Penn State, all of Penn State, they all go to Penn State, and athletes that are registered for the discipline that matches their gender. So a collegiate level 9 team will be collegiate WAG level 9 team will consist of all collegiate female athletes from the same
female,
school.
Non-binary, or
female
prefer not to
non
answer.
yes.
And they also have to be at a university in the United States.
Correct. But if there is any athlete on a team that is a community athlete, that entire team becomes a community. So let's say a team has WAG level 9 team has majority level 9 female athletes and has one male athlete competing WAG, that team would then become community, for example. So that is something to kind of note. And so that's where that flow chart kind of comes into place. However, if, for example, you still wanted to maintain that collegiate status, but you had one male athlete competing UAG, you could always put them in a separate team, so A team versus B team, and that A team would be able to maintain the collegiate status, but we'd put all of the athletes generally together to compete together. It just, the male athlete then would not be able to contribute to the team score.
And don't pay for a team fee
and
for
don't
that
pay for
single
a team.
person.
Yes,
because they're not going to win anything as a single person, no matter how good you are.
But if there aren't any questions, I guess we'll go ahead and end this meeting. And again, thank you all for your time and spending your time with us and asking all of your questions. We really appreciate it and want to make sure to give you guys the best information.
Looking forward to seeing you all at Nationals.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
See you
Thank
later.
you.
Thanks for hosting, Dane.
Lena, do you still have a question?
I was just waving by. Sorry, that was confusing.
That's okay. I
I
wanted
don't
to
really
make sure we didn't.
understand these emojis.
It's okay. I just wanted to make sure we didn't leave you hanging.